Pickle, hit the air raid sign. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, when we overreact to the football weekend, and if there's ever a weekend to overreact to, it might have been the first round of the Texas high school football playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll start with my opening kick. Opening kick. The playoffs are great, and the haters are furious.
Yes.
So, objectively, like, this is not an opinion here. This is a true fact coming from my face. The Texas high school football playoffs this weekend were awesome. Mm-hmm. They were so good. Okay? Like, games that we thought were going to live up to the hype absolutely did. Dickinson and Atascocita was a fantastic ball game. Campbell and Prosper was a fantastic ball game. Just huge matchups. But what is great about the first round of the playoffs is it's the games you never see coming. Mm-hmm. It's the games that you put aside and you think, I'll get to that in a moment. I'll don't worry about that. I'll see you in the next round. Instead, we had a truly wild first round of the Texas high school football playoffs. To wit, according to the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer, there were 20 teams that entered their by-district game as double-digit underdogs, okay? 10-plus points, and they won outright, okay? 20 times it happened. Furthermore, of the 352 games across the state of Texas, more than a quarter of them, the lower seed beat the higher seed. Mm-hmm. So the 4 beat the 1 or the 3 beat the 2. Right? The team that was seeded higher lost 25%. To put that in comparison, the first round of the NCAA tournament has an upset rate of about 14.5%. Okay? It was chaotic. And there were huge upsets, right? Fort Bend Elkins over Shadow Creek is a jaw-dropper.
Yeah.
Pilot Point over Mejia is a jaw-dropper. In the 6-man ranks, Borden County over Buena Vista is a shocker. Manville over Fort Bend Hightower, shocker. The game that Ish was at, Coleman over Wolf City, shocker, right? The playoffs were great. But inevitably, this time of year, you get the haters who will come out and say, well, actually, I think too many teams make the playoffs. Mm. What we need is less football, and we need fewer teams getting a chance. I say no participation trophies, to which I say kick rocks. The playoffs are great. It sorts itself out on the field. If it offends you that much, close your eyes for a week, and we'll see you on Friday. It doesn't make any sense to me that people who claim to love Texas high school football would look at this and say, you know what we need? Less. We need less high-stakes football. We need less teams playing with their season on the line. We need fewer high-intensity moments. We need to give fewer teams a chance to play high-stakes football. Just doesn't make sense to me. It's a loser mentality is what it is. Let's call it what it is. Those people are haters with a loser mentality. If a team getting beat by 50, and there were blowouts, there's always blowouts. Mm-hmm. I would say that I would need to run the numbers. My guess is the same number of blowouts, same percentage of blowouts that we saw this week as like a normal week of the regular season. If that offends you so much, don't watch. Wait until the area round. But because you have this idea that we shouldn't have participation trophies for fourth place teams, when there were dozens of fourth place teams that advanced in the playoffs, because it offends your delicate sensibilities, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. Shout out to the Texas high school football playoffs, which remain great in spite of the haters. Let's get to Game of the Week. Game of the week live on Dave Campbell's Texan Live. Kingwood 36, Clear Springs 35. First of all, Clear Springs scores and gets a 2-point conversion with a minute left to force overtime. Okay? Great enough. Then then they get the ball first in overtime. Clear Springs goes down, scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point, goes up 7. Goes up 35-28. Kingwood, a fourth-place team, gets their possession in overtime. They had like a 3rd and 8. They converted that, eventually score a touchdown. And Cale Melton, the head coach at Kingwood, runs his kicker out there to kick the extra point. And then in what I can only describe as the huevos moment of the weekend, Cale Melton says, give me a timeout. Give me a timeout. Calls a timeout. They come back to the huddle. And you can watch this on Texan Live. They come back to the huddle, and I don't know who does the convincing here, but Cale Melton sends his offense out there for the 2-point conversion. They line up basically in the single wing, run in for a game-winning 2-point conversion. Pandemonium, Kingwood's first playoff win, I think, in 7 years, and a absolute showstopper in the first round of the playoffs. Kingwood and Clear Springs, the final 4 minutes plus overtime of that game are wild. Absolutely wild. It's my game of the week. There were in a week where it was hard to determine one. That's my game of the week. Let's go to my play of the week. Play of the week, we are going to Peaster and Peaster taking on Comanche. Okay? Peaster and Comanche in a, 4A Division 2, is that correct? That sounds about right. 4A Division 2 a matchup. And in overtime, Peaster, who's only been playing football, I think their 3rd varsity season, Peaster, looking for their first ever playoff victory, goes to overtime. Comanche kicks a field goal in their half of overtime, at which point the ball goes over to Peaster, at which point Leighton Kennedy found Slate Robertson, and pandemonium ensued for a historic moment for the Peaster Greyhounds. There it is. Peaster's game-winning, playoff victory, history-making throwback touchdown there. As once again, Leighton Kennedy finds Slate Robertson in overtime. And you just see, I don't know, that's the kind of stuff, inject that into my veins.
Oh, yeah.
The reaction from the crowd. You can tell how much it means to that community to have that win. And yeah, it's a first-round playoff win. Nobody's gonna, they're not gonna build a statue for a first-round playoff win. But you can tell how much that means to that team, how much that means to that community to go and get their first ever playoff win. A remarkable play, and it's my play of the week. Time for the Dudes Rock Dude of the Week. Hashtag Dudes Rock for the dude who duded the hardest. It was a bad week for El Paso. El Paso almost got skunked in the playoffs. But one team won, and it was El Paso Del Valle. And a big reason why is our Dudes Rock Dude of the Week, Jake Fett, the quarterback.
This guy rocks.
Who ran 18 times for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns, threw for 209 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air as Del Valle knocked off Abilene Cooper. I believe it's Abilene Cooper's first ever loss to an El Paso team. A big doings there as El Paso Del Valle quarterback Jake Fett puts on the cape, not just for Del Valle, but also for the entire Sun City. He is my Dudes Rock Dude of the Week. Some sad news. The NFL Minute, usually seen at this time, is on a temporary hiatus. I'm not happy about it. But our chief NFL correspondent, my mom, is on location doing some deep reporting.
Oh, solid. Even better one next week.
Trying to figure out exactly, trying to get to the bottom of a big story. And by the bottom of a big story, I mean the bottom of a bottle of wine with her friends in Arkansas.
My girl.
So, unfortunately, there is no NFL Minute this weekend. But I just want you to imagine our chief NFL correspondent, my mom, like giving you all the news and notes from around the National Football League in this moment. Just picture it in your mind. Okay. Stock up. Anna. Boy, talk about a 5A debut. They absolutely trounce Colleyville Heritage, on the road, mind you, and get a really, really impressive win. And I will just tell you this about Anna, okay? When you start to take a look at the brackets, that is a team, obviously, look, they're defending state champs. Move up from 4A to 5A, but they are still defending state champs. We did have one state champ go down in Timpson this weekend. But when you take a look at the 5A Division II bracket, right? They'll take on Abilene Wiley this week. I think they're favored in that game. At which point they'll play El Paso del Valle or Lovejoy. And I'm just saying, I would love to see Anna versus Lovejoy round 2. I'd love to see Anna versus El Paso del Valle. I'm saying Anna is a team that if you thought that moving up to 5A was going to scare them, if you thought that them moving up to 5A was going to be a problem, no such luck. I think Anna is a problem. Edward Chumley, Zyandre Williams, they are cooking right now. Keep an eye on Anna. They're in the 5A Division II bracket. So normally we do stock down, but like if your stock's down, you're probably out of the playoffs. In case you missed it of the week, Westbrook 116, Robert Lee 110.
That's insane.
That is a real score from six-man football, obviously. Well, I mean, maybe not obviously. I don't know. 116-110 is your final there. That is, in fact, the highest scoring UIL football game, six-man football game, obviously, since at least 2002. That's how far back my records go.
Wow.
And that, by UIL, I mean 2 UIL teams playing. There have been some private school games that have been higher scoring, but from a UIL perspective, that is the 126 points is the highest, or 226 points, the highest scoring UIL six-man game in at least 22 years. Yeah. Wow. I texted Homer Matlock because I needed to find the head coach at Westbrook because I needed to find their matchup this week against Newcastle. Get their information. They're playing 7 o'clock Friday in Jayden, by the way. All the information at texasfootball.com/playoff. And I got the information and I said, how's your blood pressure? And he wrote back something along the lines of like, I hated every minute.
Which is a lot of minutes considering there were 226 points scored.
Correct.
That's a lot of minutes.
That's a long six-man game.
Yes.
Okay?
That's a long game regardless.
That's a long game regardless. Anyway. Now it's time for the Matt Step. He got that dog in him. Player of the week.
And now, the Matt Step. He got that dog in him. Player of the week.
Matt Step with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, eating a post-game meal after North Crowley defeated Byron Nelson 56-21. Here to bring you the by-district round of the Matt Step He Got That Dog in Him Award. And the winner of this week's Matt Step He Got That Dog in Him Award is none other than Abernathy freshman athlete Colt Nicoletti. In Friday night's 35-18 win over Stinnett, West Texas, the freshman ran for 3 touchdowns, 109 yards, and played a great game on defense and special teams as well. Congrats, Colt. You, sir, have got that dog in you.
This has been the Matt Step He Got That Dog in Him Player of the Week.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate you. Appreciate you filing that courageous report. My final shot, no clunkers allowed. There were a couple of teams that I think slept-walked through the first half of their playoff games in the first round of the playoffs. Okay? Campbell slept-walked through their first half against Prosper. It's a good Prosper team.
They were down like 21-0.
21-7 at half.
21-7.
Yeah. 21-7. North Crowley.
Oh, yeah.
I thought slept-walked through their game against Byron. They almost got Grant Riz jacked.
Literally. And then they held him scoreless and dropped like 8 bajillion. But Ray Gates, I don't know if you saw the clip of him after the game, but one of the reporters like posted his pregame speech or his postgame speech to the team, and it was very evident. Like, yeah, good job, but like, we're never doing that again.
No, do not do that again. There were a number of teams that started slow, and look, it's the playoffs. You're allowed to get your feet wet. Sometimes the lights are brighter. You understand it. I think you can get away with it maybe in the first round.
Yes.
And some teams did. Some teams didn't, by the way. Some teams did. We say around here, win your clunkers. When you play a bad game, just win that game, put in the win column, move on. We are now at the point in the Texas high school football season, the Texas high school football playoffs, where if you play a clunker, it is an existential threat to your season. And it can happen to anybody. It can happen to Duncanville, okay? It can happen to Carthage. It can happen to Gunter. It can happen to anybody. If you play a bad half, it can cost you. We are now in a clunker-free zone. If you want to play at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, you are no longer allowed to have a clunker. That is where we're at now. The stakes are higher. The teams are better. It's now time to put the pedal to the metal and make sure that you're playing your best football right now. Maybe you got away with one in week 1, in round 1. Doesn't happen if you go in round 2. That's my final shot. That's Monday Morning Fallout.